Hey, how's it going? My name is Sean Salamone. I'm a senior SEO strategist here at Inflow. We've been doing a series where we take a look at some e-commerce sites and give you an idea of what an SEO would look at on the site. So today I'm here to review guitarcenter.com. So we'll get into that and give you some ideas of some things that I would look at and point out as maybe some things that need to be fixed from the SEO side. So we'll get started with Guitar Center's website. They're a pretty big e-commerce site selling a lot of guitars and music equipment and things like that. So pretty well-known brand. So I imagine they rank pretty well just by the power of their brand, but we'll take a look at how they built their site and some things that we would want to maybe change from an SEO side and anything there. So to start, whenever I get on a site, I use this Chrome extension here called SEO Detailed. It just gives a handy look at some of the major things from an SEO side you'd want to look at, and we'll dive in from there. So looking at the title, has a good one there, has their brand, has some products in there, things that they would want to rank for, showing that their description is over character count a little bit, but I wouldn't be too worried about that. Another great thing this tool does is show us the sitemap and the robot.txt file. So we'll take a look at those real quick, make sure they have them. And it looks like they do. This will just block Google from going to any URL paths that they don't want people to see. There's a couple things I see in here already, namely like a search bar or anything like that. So good to see they have that. And then they also have a link to their XML sitemap. So we'll just take that and go from there. And can see they do have an XML sitemap, which is great. Like I mentioned, this is probably a really, really big site. So it looks like they have individual sitemaps for their different product lines, product categories. That makes sense. You only want to have about 50,000 URLs in a XML sitemap. So it makes sense that they would break it down. Let's take a look at one of them and see what that looks like. I'd want to look at this one because it seems like it would probably have a lot of their products in there. So it'll probably be pretty large. And I was right, it does. I would just want to see how many URLs in total are in here. I would do that with Google Search Console if we had access. So definitely a big site, good to have sitemaps and good to have them well managed. So definitely would be something I would look into if I had access to the site a little bit more. The other thing I'll look at with this tool is the headings. This will give us an idea of what headings are on here and how they're laying out the page. It looks like they're using headings, which is great. No H1 though, not seeing any H1s on this site. Interesting, would want to have an H1 on this page just to tell Google what this page is about. That's something that you could look into. Other than that, taking a quick look at the site at a face value, looks like they have a search bar up here, which is nice. Really does a lot of things, it seems. Has a lot of trending searches, things you would want to look for, brands and categories, some things we've looked at before. So that's pretty cool. Has access to some live help. Looks like they have kind of two navigations. So one over here that's activated when you click the shop, and then one kind of normal one. There might be some redundancy, I would bet, between the two. So that's something to maybe look at and consider, but definitely a functionality is pretty good. Let's see what it looks like on a mobile device. I imagine maybe that top navigation goes away and they just have the one that's on the left side there. So that kind of makes sense, kind of consistency between desktop and mobile. Scrolling down, a lot of products, a lot of images, definitely a lot of images. I wonder how fast this site is. So we'll run a page speed insights while we're here. I did that because there's a lot of images on this, so it likely is loading pretty slow. I want to make sure that they're handling all these images correctly. It looks like it failed the assessment there. Some slow stuff on the performance side. Makes sense with all those images. The biggest opportunity there, yep, relates to images. So defer off-screen images. So this would be your lazy loading images. So as you scroll down the site, images get loaded. It looks like they're just loading them all at once. That would be a big savings for them and probably help speed up the site a little bit. Unused JavaScript as well. That's a major one I see on a lot of sites. This is just because a lot of these third-party tools have their own code in there, so it's hard to edit some of them and get rid of them. The thing to do would just be to look to see if there's anything you don't use anymore or maybe any redundancies or anything like that, just to try to get rid of them. But overall, decent score, but yeah, it looks like images are probably a problem for them on that homepage. Seeing some good features in here. Oh, this is like a gift guide, I guess. That's pretty cool. More images, some products in here, related products. Not seeing a lot of content per se. This is all images, images, images. So Google can't really read that. Links to some of their articles, probably some of their top ones. That's good to have those there. And then they have their footer, which is a lot of good information, social stuff. This is cool. It looks like they have a sitemap in here. The sitemap to all their major pages. Kind of an old school thing a little bit. I don't see too many sites with sitemaps anymore, but definitely a good use. Google can get to that and quickly get to all their pages. A user can use it as well if they want to just quickly see where some of the main category pages are. So you don't have to have everything in here, just a main overview. Nice feature that they have. That probably helps with their crawling since they're such a big site. Overall, pretty good page. Not a lot of content though. I'd want to have some text on here like this that Google could actually read and maybe talk about this site a little bit more. This is a pretty major brand, so Google probably knows who they are, know what they do. So it's probably not totally necessary, but for maybe smaller known brands, it's definitely good to have a content area on there. So what I want to do is dive into a couple different page types a little bit and look at some of them. The three major ones we'll look at here today are a category page, a product page, and then we'll dive into their blog a little bit. Take a look in their navigation. We'll go to guitars and check out electric guitars, probably their main product. So looking at this main category page, let's start with SEO detailed. It looks like the title is just kind of simply electric guitars, guitar center. That's good. Could maybe add some more keywords in there, like buy electric guitars online or something like that. That is what the product is, so that's good. Meta description is pretty good there as well. The URL has these upper cases for electric guitar. Usually like to see an all lowercase URL, but that's fine if that's what they have. I think the important thing would be if it redirects correctly. So let's see if we had an all lowercase URL, what would that do? Yep, it redirects to that version of the page. The other thing that kind of stands out to me is this .gc. I've never seen that on URLs. I wonder if it's like .guitar center, little branding thing they're doing. Kind of cool, but adds to the URL a little bit. Let's see if we remove that and go to the site. Yep, that redirects. So as we look into this as well, let's see if they have an H1 on this. We saw they didn't have it on the home page. Yep, they do. That's good. That main keyword there. So let's scroll down a little bit. Looks like they have some links to some related stuff and then some different products. So that's cool. They have pages sorted by price. So that's good. Easy way to shop. I'm assuming these are like related products, things you would want to buy with this. It doesn't really have a heading or anything of like what these are. It's kind of confusing a bit. Some top sellers, their top brand pages. That's good. New arrivals. That's cool. Plays well with guitars. So some accessories, some things you'd want to buy. I'm not seeing like a product section yet. Oh, there it is. That's pretty far down the page. There's a lot of info you got to get through to get to the products, which probably on mobile takes forever. A lot of good info up here. I just maybe would reorder some of this. You would want products a little bit higher to get to them a little bit quicker. It looks like they have a side navigation here that has some categories, brands you can sort by. Let's try one of those. Effects. Interesting. It looks like that takes you to a new section. We're not in guitars anymore. Is there a way to get back to guitars from there? Doesn't seem like it. Let's try another one. Solid body guitars. So that looks like it takes us to another page as well, but that one's at least in the folder path, so we could get back to electric guitars that way. Other one with the effects took us somewhere else. That's fine for internal linking purposes, gets you somewhere else, but you want to be able to get back in case you maybe accidentally clicked it or just wanted to see what that was. So that's kind of just a user side. So let's go back to electric guitar, see what we have here. What else is on here? Let's see what some of these filters look like. So if we wanted to sort by a certain price, so it looks like it gives us that parameter URL. Let's see how they're handling that. So that's the URL. Cool. There's a canonical on there, so it looks like it's canonicling this URL back to the main page, which is what you want. Looks like they have a good bit of content here at the bottom about electric guitars, the different kinds. This content doesn't look great though. These don't even look like headings. What are these? Yeah, it's not a heading. It's a strong tag, looks like. Yeah, that's not ideal. This feels very much like quote unquote SEO content. So it's just kind of there for the search engine to read and give some context there. We probably want to make this a little bit better, have some headings on here, have maybe a little bit more context to what are electric guitars, maybe some internal linking. Could leverage this a bit better to get some internal linking, some text about things, your products and everything. So that would be a section to improve there. Overall, at least they have some content though. Good to see. It would be nice to maybe have some of that content up top here. We have such a big section here. It takes Google forever to get all the way to the bottom to find that and even see you have it. So it might be nice to have some of that up top just to show what the product is, what you're looking at, that sort of thing. So overall, a decent page, some good stuff on here. Definitely some room for improvement though, especially with the content and usability of this thing and where it takes you to different pages that you maybe didn't intend to. Let's look at a product page. So here we're looking at an Epiphone Les Paul page. So we'll take a look at SEO detailed to start and see what we're seeing there. Cool. Looks like they have good title in there, good keywords, good URL. They're a little bit long, but it just kind of comes with long product names. So that's fine to see. And we'll check out headings as well. Looks like their product is in an H1, so that's good. A lot of detail, so we'll get into those and see what else is in there and how that works. To start, it looks like they have a little bit of content up here just about the product, some reviews. That's great. What is this? Ask a question. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can send in a question about this product. Probably someone will get back to you pretty quickly. It's a nice way to do that. Continue to look through. Got a price, some images here of what the product looks like. Looks like they have a couple different colors of it. Let's see what that does if I go to the white one. It looks like it took us to a different page. So they have specific pages for different colors. Let's see what the URL looks like. This is canonical to a different URL. I'm assuming the one we were just on. What this means is this page probably won't appear in SERPs. It could. Google could ignore the canonical because the canonical is just a directive. You're suggesting to Google, hey, this page is the same as the other one, but there's a chance that this white guitar won't rank. So if someone was searching for that, they might not get on Guitar Center because of that. There's probably a good bit of overlap. The only difference between these two guitars is the colors. The content is probably all the same. That's probably why they did that. But there's some other ways to do that. You're not creating the separate page entirely at all, and then just having some information about the two different colors, or keeping this separate page and trying to separate the content a little bit more, try to feature some different things. There's some options there. So let's go back to the other one, since it's the canonical one. We'll look at that. As we scroll down, things are loading in a weird order, so that's probably not great for core web vitals. It looks like we have some content here about the product, some descriptions, some features. Let's do a search for this content, see if anyone else is using it. It looks like Guitar Center. Anyone else? Yep. Looks like this guitarfactory.com is coming up. Let's see if that content is on here. So it looks like this is just manufacturer information pulled and uploaded onto the site. So they probably have a lot of overlap on the content there. Not a big deal, especially for Guitar Center. Like I've been saying earlier, they have a pretty strong brand, well known. So it's probably not going to impact them. Duplicate content is not as big of an issue as it once was. There's no penalty for that anymore. But a good thing you could do to make this page better would be to not use this standard content, or try to dress this content up a little bit more. Take this and rewrite it a little bit, or maybe add to it. Sometimes these manufacturers have some strict guidelines on what you can change and what you can't change. So maybe that's just kind of what they needed to have, but there's some ways to maybe add some more onto it. Maybe some better images, maybe a little video with someone actually playing the guitar, just something to help you stand out a little bit more, because when you look at it, these are basically the same thing, same information, same kind of thing. So I wonder what the difference is between that. Why would we want to rank one over the other one? But overall, good stuff in there. Some more links to some related stuff, which is great, or featured articles. I would think I would want to have maybe some things tagged in here so that way it's pulling in articles only about guitars, so it's a little bit more related. Just keep it a little bit more consistent. But overall, glad they have that in there. Customer reviews, which are great. Well, this is interesting. Okay, so they have most like positive review and then most like negative review. So they're kind of giving you a look at, what's so great about it, and also being upfront about, maybe why people didn't like it and maybe what wouldn't work for you. That's always like my fear of putting these types of open reviews on here is you could get some bad ones. Let's see if they get some other ones. The nut fell off, so it probably means it's not built very well or something. Poor fretwork. I think that's the one that was up here. Sometimes with these types of reviews and leaving them open like this, you're subject to some not great reviews in there. But this is kind of a nice way to deal with that, be upfront about it. This is the good ones. We do have some bad ones, so you can figure it out for yourself. Pretty good page. It has a lot of good info, a lot of good imagery, ways to get in contact with everyone to make the purchase and everything like that. Some things I would fix on there, mainly related to content, but overall pretty good. So we looked at the home page, we looked at the category page and a product page. The last thing I'd want to look at is their blog. So it looks like they're calling it the Riffs blog. So we'll check that out. So we'll start with SEO detailed as usual and see what's in here. The title tag is just articles, Guitar Center. A homepage of a blog isn't really going to rank for too much, but good chance to get a keyword in there, or Riffs blog, something a little bit more descriptive than just articles. So I might update that. Meta description, that's good. URLs, looks like it's Riffs. It's interesting. It did say it was the Riffs blog, so that's just kind of a play on that. It doesn't really matter what you call your blog or how you do the URL structure. You can call it whatever you want. But as long as you know it's a blog and a user can get to it and understand that. So let's see if I change this to blog, what does that do? Okay, yeah, that redirects. So it goes from blog to Riffs. So that's good. That's something I would recommend there. So if I take a look at the blog, looks like they have some categories for their different articles, which is great. Search feature, again, that's good. Different products. We scroll down. So those are those main categories and some of the articles from each phone. That's great. Let's take a look at one. We'll go to buying guides. This is where you'll probably see most traffic type stuff. A lot of this other stuff is a little bit more specific, but buying guides is really where you're going to see more articles that people might be searching for, making purchases and that sort of thing. Let's go with this one, the 7 best acoustic guitars for under $200. So this is an article that they have. Let's check SEO detailed. So it looks like they have best acoustic guitars under $200 in there. So that's a good keyword. GC Riffs, again, that's their blog. Branding thing, cool if people know what it is. I might go with Guitar Center there. So that way, if it appears in the search, people know what your brand is or who's selling it. Again, you can call your blog anything you want, but definitely want to do some branding recognition there. Let's check out headings. So I'm seeing H1 for Riffs, but then also H1 for the article title, which makes sense. This is weird. Why is Riffs H1? This is our article title, so this would be an H1. Let's see what other H1 is on here. Interesting. Looks like it's in this Riffs thing here. You can't see it, so it's kind of hidden in there. I'm not sure why that's like that. Would want to only have kind of the main H1 in here, and especially you wouldn't have one that's hidden. So that might be something to look into, see if you can get rid of that and just have the main one there. Looks like there's some links to the other buying guides. That's great. A date of when this is posted. So that's good. July 2022. So that's good. Within the last 6 months there. So good freshness there. Has a good image here of the product. So we have some content here. Images go along with the products. Looks like we have links that go to the product pages. Yep, takes you to the products. So that's cool. Good use of internal linking there. A couple different guitars in here. Some links to some other ones, it looks like, related kind of articles. And then that's kind of it. So overall, first impression looks pretty good. I'd want to read this a little bit further and maybe make some recommendations there. It does seem a little thin. There's only like 60 words. This one looks a little longer. 80 words. So it looks a little thin. It could give some better information about the guitar and what makes it a good guitar, what makes it one of the best under $200. Gets a product description of what it is, and that's kind of it. So we'll take a look at that a little bit further and see if there's some better things you could do there. But overall, good basic article. Definitely some opportunity for some improvement there. Overall, good and good to have this type of content on the site. So the next and last thing I'll do is just to look at Ahrefs a little bit further for this site. It's a tool I really like to use. It has a lot of good information. I uploaded some things in here already, so gives us a good idea from a third-party perspective of what the site looks like and some information about it. So to start, we usually just pop it in here and look at backlinks and look at organic traffic over time just to give us some idea, since we don't have access to Google Search Console. So like I kind of suspected, pretty high domain rating there, pretty powerful site, a lot of backlinks, pretty well-known brand. So that makes sense. I'm looking at traffic, estimated traffic, a number of keywords for the past 2 years. Looks like they've been growing over the past year or so. So that's good for them. I'm seeing some upward trajectory there. Looks like they lost a good number of keywords over the year, but are still gaining traffic, so that's good. You can see this when Google makes an update or when Ahrefs makes an update to their database, that sort of thing. But it's usually a good indication that some of the things you were ranking for, maybe Google changed how they want to rank you for that, or maybe you weren't really getting any traffic for it anyway. So they've made some changes to their algorithm, or maybe you removed a lot of pages that weren't doing anything. They were ranking for keywords, but not really driving traffic. And that's where you see, the total number go down, but then you see the estimated traffic go up. Let's take a look at top subfolders and just get an idea of what types of pages are ranking really well for them. So it looks like we have their homepage. Their use section really does well. We didn't take a look at that, but that's another good area of their business, it seems, and people are looking for used guitars. It looks like a lot of their brand pages do pretty well. And then we get into the guitars page. That's where we looked. Some good stuff in there. And what's standing out to me is it's a lot of collection pages, a lot of products, that sort of thing, which is great. You want those to be some of your top traffic drivers, because that's where people are going to convert the most. Blog articles are great, drive traffic, do a lot there, and can really get some top of funnel type traffic and everything, and really up your brand awareness, but they don't tend to convert as well. So good for Guitar Center to see that a lot of their category and product pages are ranking really, really well and driving a lot of their traffic. You can use the Ahrefs to look at specific pages and see how things are ranking and what they're ranking for. So I put in here that buying guide that we looked at for acoustic guitars, just to see how that one's ranking and what it's doing. Let's take a look at this buying guide for the last year in organic search. So it looks like it had ranked for a lot of keywords and then kind of took a drop, but it's starting to go back up over the past year. And that makes sense. What was the date on this? July 3rd. So that's when we updated this page. It looked like it existed before that, and then maybe was seeing a downturn. So they decided to do an update to this page, refresh it. It looks like it out of the gate ranked for some more and drove some traffic, then kind of went back a bit, but has been picking up traffic a lot lately. So that's good for them. A good idea to look at content, refresh it, update it with some new information periodically. So that's a good example of when that's happening. Let's check out some of the keywords it ranks for, see if it ranks for any kind of under 200 keywords, seeing what it really is kind of targeting. Looks like it is best acoustic guitar under 200, those types of keywords. That's really what it's targeting. And it looks like it's on the first page. I don't see a number one ranking though. We look like we're middle of the first page a bit for some of these. Number two for a lot of them. Has seen growth over the year, which is good. Let's take a look at what is ranking number one for this. It looks like it's this oldtimemusic.com, kind of the same article. Best cheap acoustic guitars. They're kind of targeting. And let's maybe see why they're ranking a little bit better. What could they be doing? Looking at this, let's check out SEO detail to start. It looks like they have that in the title as well. Best cheap acoustic guitars under $200 of 2022. So that's interesting. They put the date in there. I don't think our article had that Kind of gives a little freshness, lets you know that this is of this year, newer stuff. It helps you indicate that they're up to date with that. So that's kind of a good idea. Good info in there, kind of more of a straightforward URL, just kind of off the root. I prefer how Guitar Center is doing it, just so on the reporting side, you can look at the performance of, how are our buying guides doing, specifically our guitar buying guides doing. I think either works from a URL perspective, from an SEO side, because this is off the root that's helping them, but just something to keep in mind that there's, multiple ways to do the URLs. So it looks like they have a date here. This is November 2022, so a little bit fresher. They wrote this a little bit more recently. That could be helping them a bit. Looks like they have an author attached to it. Do we have one over here? So that's a good thing to have an author page. Who wrote this article? Why should I, recommend them or understand them? So looking at the content, yeah, a little bit longer. You can see that right away. This page is a little bit more detailed, has some more internal links. A lot of ads in here so far, kind of distracting, but I guess that's how I probably make some revenue for the site. Cool. Looks like they have a list at the top so you can see them right away. And then they go to Amazon affiliate to buy those. Kind of like that list at the top. So that way you can see which guitars they're looking at right away. Could be something that Guitar Center could do to help break up the site a little bit. This looks like it's a little bit longer. They're giving some information about the articles. Oh, there's a pros and cons list about, what makes this guitar, why you might want to buy it. I don't love this bright yellow block, but I guess that's one way to do it. But overall, a little bit better content here about what these are, what makes the difference, why this guitar is a little bit better. That's definitely a good value to add to these pages. If you're in this Guitar Center situation where you're like, I have this great article, we've written it, but we're not ranking number one, maybe why. It's a good thing to do is look at who is ranking number one and why. And so that is everything I would look at. We could take a little bit more of an in-depth look and run it through some tools to crawl the site and see how the URL structures are laid out, see if there's any broken links, any redirects, try to find some of that stuff. But overall, a pretty positive site, pretty positive review for them. Some things that they could work on and update, but overall, a good example for an e-commerce site of how to do some things and get some ideas.